Scare you?
Really? Are you, Alan?
So stunning. Still a little sore for sure.
So then is this?
Well,
we don't.
Come on, we be this.
Oh, okay.
The 20 that's great, and that goes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be 29.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Inherited my first one.
Doing.
This one, either.
I'm still not back to where I want to be.
Here's the two scoops of the same. See you. See you.
Or-
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Only slappers. Live here.
Does it make automatic work? Camera? No, someone's really. Oh, Chuck is.
6 foot.
John,
Let's hope it's
Believe it.
better than you think.
I like the badge edit.
You like that?
Maybe I'll get mine. David Sharpie.
Stingy.
Presets too. So
I think, yeah.
so it still gets so form. Brings colors.
6:30.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you know whether to leave early, leave on normal time, or leave super early? Yeah.
You mean with construction?
Yes.
You never know. And
Yeah, it's done the thing. Okay. I'm sure you're back. Yeah, it's all applies. You know what you know that.
at least it was relatively easy to hook the camera.
That's what I did in the first movie. Awesome. It was 96 degrees this day. I'm on a motorcycle. Stopped at the tracks there. I sat there. 40, didn't know my way around. Years out. I said, wait, we're gonna go drive by the house, get a cold bottle of water, and I'm taking off. So that's what I did. What's more? Yeah. The trend.
Past a couple times. Mike, yeah. You think I'd have a lecture?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, recording in progress.
Yeah, I think it's because I didn't have maybe just look for a second and just check, so it didn't.
It still is.
Still is.
It's done the one things. After 94.
After 94, I was saying 5. Then it goes back to 3 lines. Then that is 75. 75 is 3. So
1, 2, 3.
Okay. And Brian Construction's mile marker 13. But yeah, I was because they've got the right 2 lanes.
Yep.
And it was yes, and it was open. And it was backed up. Pretty much.
Let me exit that. Oh, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Exit. I want to do that.
I mean,
Hi, Rick and 7. Can you guys hear me all right?
No.
Rick, you're on mute. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yep, no problem.
Okay, perfect. No echo or anything like that?
What's that?
Is there any echo to the audio?
No, you're clear. Very good.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, you can see us and all that, right? In the room?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Is that the same for you as well, 7?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Oh, is that? Yeah. This is Chuck. How you doing, man?
Chuck, do you want to talk to him?
Yes.
Hey, 7, this is Chuck. We've emailed about 100 times.
Maybe his audio is not such.
Oh,
Yeah, Rick came back, said he heard us, so I think we're good.
we don't seem to be, but
Oh,
1, 2, check, check, check. Hello.
on the board.
I believe we're, I think we're all good.
No, but you can't. I don't know, but. We had the first book.
Rick, are you still able to hear everything?
Not a problem.
Okay. 7, you can't hear us? We can't hear you. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself? 7, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
How about now?
Yeah. Can you hear us without any echo or reverb or anything, loud and clear?
Sounds good, 5x9.
Okay. And you can see us just fine?
Oh yeah.
Hey, 7, this is Chuck. We've spoken to each other like a bunch of times on email, so nice to see your smiling face finally.
Yeah.
Glad you could come.
Be here. Do you want me to be here? What do you want to do? Yeah, that came down. Yeah. You only need 6 or 7 here. Yeah.
I'm gonna power this down. Unless you're leaving it.
I have to, from the day.
That is generally why the very teams, teams close, yes, teams are reading. Late comer,
Right.
yeah, sure, there's.
Yeah.
How's it going, Mike? Yeah.
Yeah,
So you got a couple bringing your 17.
yeah.
You just 50 said, oh, yes, this is our.
Yeah.
I've worked in, so I looked for a little vitamins in. And you're. I'm not. Three north. Feel like I feel like. You know, so, all right.
That's the string like right up there.
Yeah. Downstairs. It's the first step of the call.
I was having coffee. And we had the big conference last week. Lots of stuff.
Everybody loves Randy Day.
I didn't see any. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Oh, see, right?
Right?
It's
During 8:30. So.
Yes.
even if it's a friend here.
I'll just closure.
Right, Chicago. Okay, that's good. Thank you for your help. Right. 11 Saturdays, maybe.
So this was
Right, so it's in Chicago.
sure. Community system was just nothing. Yeah. So. Yeah. One of the most expensive parts now. Everyone for a house, so. Yes. That was turning. And you got moved into New York.
Yeah, so.
Spent the whole time doing.
Training space. Yeah, when we went, I went to classes 2018. Outside friends in college and training.
Yeah, I actually brought a base because I'm doing the.
Yeah.
You're using
Slots to sleeve, that was it, so.
different thing. But it didn't, it's, you know, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Track, it's just.
Look at your iPad.
All of them.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, yeah. And my.
Yeah, I liked it.
You look, yeah, this time you can have all that.
I think it's like.
Yeah, my.
CQ40.
Still a lot, yeah, she works. I might do something.
It's been in a chair.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was.
What was the occasion for Chicago?
We, we met with, Framingham,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I.
and
I guess they have one.
retired firefighter.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. It was the tour of Station 51, which is where they filmed Chicago.
Yes, that's cool. When you look at series.
Yes. And then we stopped on the way and.
Learning a lot here, just finding time. Days you think of it. And be a good. But you got already lost church credits. Well, you go, which I did leave it misplaced items that generate ads. I used. Well, using the items. That's right. And does it in the drop individual. Well, yeah, I actually never let that go over. Yeah, I'm trying to frame. It's something. You know, it's all. I can't get it because I'm a lot of insurance one. But yeah,
I should, whatever the cheapest was. I got just more AutoZone Duralast, cause I shop it on a lot. I got motor crowd, 3 times the price.
Somebody I planned in.
And then I did find motor friends, you know, it's pretty much the same price as auto show. But I want to install this weekend.
Not seeing
So rough sizes. Yeah, I'll just go with Duralast. It was so bad. I think one of them, I was like stopping.
Yeah.
Like, man was gonna be here, but it's not six. So yeah, he's not gonna be. Town, but I could just be.
There you go. Problem there, yeah. Do you even to the dash your radius? The sketch. I have plugs for the.
So that hold on, I meant to ask him about. Yeah, we got lots, you know, because he's still kids. Right. Yeah. Something that you know, spare little field.
More like
He's on the HW union, they were. Near us.
I think it's.
So we have to see a little bit of the full. I think it's supposed to be like a problem with the Oh.
You did.
I love Scott. I'm using the thing. What I bet I just got like sorry, no worries. Why is it was like a and today, part of yes, it was. We were actually said. Granddaughter, I took her to school. It's long story. University of Michigan. Never not even ever. He had some cycle, standard 5 rockets. The first thing I get to the yard is about 40 trouble. They had one like that. Yeah. Myself, one, you get 1,000 over on that street, please. That's 39 and that's not good. But South London, two guys from South London, the very reason I like speech. So I went over, I'm looking at the tent, I see him, the tent sticking up. So it's run the choices over there. Yeah. It's not. Was it in the case? So I get paid. Yeah, if you let's do this, no, you're first shift. Well, it was a lot of fun. Well, my granddaughter's house, she hasn't had it out there. Steve, here's the time I did it. The house. And you think I did out. And then my daughter's boyfriend, he's got one, yeah, once he sets it up and everything else, he's trash. It's how I bring this release. This is the answer takes sure that yes, all of us are. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's something going on. Yeah. Oh, we had a lot of, they had stuff all over the place, so I think it's brought there. And then there were a lot of people who were interested in that. We were out there looking at those, see what they wanted to buy. A lot of kids, some of the schools. Fix the sign up, yeah, just trying to be. But there is some reasons, like. But I guess every handwriting off like. That's pretty cool. She was flying here about 30. Like, must sure. Well, there's the case of this is not response to stuff. That's the call. It shows up like big pressure neighbors. And just like on the block. So he's like, it's not pretty shot there. Wall. Thank you. Pretty try to watch it. She's very far over. Yeah, it's just your neighbors. Problem is, sure, keep your neighbors. Like last 6 months. They thought I was expensive. You're on them. There's fence in the back of the room. Right. Yeah, that's good. I have right now. It's just. What you been up to? Yeah. We didn't go Labor Day because I looked at that. Okay. Where I am. Last 2 weeks I haven't gone to breakfast with my granddaughter to Saturdays. And I have to drive when I'm church and how strong is the house? Yeah.
You remember here?
Yeah.
It's your rest.
Oh, yeah.
Teachers dance, hard night, 1 o'clock. As soon as she gets her driver's license, she'll be able to take. How you doing? What's one of our vehicles? That's 60. That's, I mean, I did something two things. I was like, be close to. That's all right. So, all right.
So, I gifted myself a Yaesu FT 710. Which is like the DX10, but just a little bit smaller. I call it the Nikon 73 because Yaesu finally made a radio. The menu system is so much better than, you know, it's just. It's.
That's somebody just doing so that's so dialing.
More times than plus C and the 710.
It does, I just.
Like, but I radio, believe it or not, pretty sure.
Something terrible. They had my meeting last night, 5 minutes. Ready to log in.
Say again?
It downloads a new one. My hand camera didn't work. They could hear me. It's already like,
You know, side by side.
you know, let me have a
Never heard of this list before. Looked into this radio, the Sherwood. Heard of that? So this sign is, you know, more on that. Instead of receiver. They come set up their charity is all that. So. Somebody can. Yeah, so I bought a set of 10 like a week after I left service. Exciting stuff. These sound super sound. 10 is awesome. Nice color displays. Same size as not go too crazy.
Yeah,
Still alive. So. Audio that comes from strong speakers that firing speakers and then all of the higher frequency sounds come out of the front facing speakers. There's almost a surround sound. That's nice. It's just the big halls. Yeah. That's one of the first magnets in a while.
Well. Yeah, but at least, yeah, I heard it from the show.
Yeah, and that's really where there's also not an idea of selling to look like previous to the 710.
This brain.
Nobody likes to go buy it. Yeah. Technology just can see the basic version. I can't start any radios for 50 free. Oh, hey, for me, just have it. Had it next to my, I have a 10 set on it. There is response. I wouldn't say I'm too big or anything like that, but I can tell years old. I would say that, you know, I can pick that station a lot better, but
Some ice cream?
So, do you want help? It's so funny that like. Let's talk to myself. I think the door. Okay. Always thought it was. He's really blew it up. I'm just, yeah. See, I take all my fun. Also, you can put that back. Over radio too. A lot easier than you think. Do we have a shelf for all the burnt finals? Display case. Radios inside of it. I got a radio. Called Shane. They don't. Hoping you just know that. Be off. Still have. Display a whole oil on. That's nice. It's 25 feet. I'm thinking exactly since. I don't need any day. Yeah, it makes the camera over screen. Floor. To share one of the computers. And that's probably. That's the fun part. Or should say, really, it's the key. I do on occasion. If the band's packed and I know that I'm having trouble. So that, so. A little bit of, I know, on the hop around altogether here, figure it out. Many a time. But for the 80% of the contacts, I'm able to get up. It's the 10% that, you know, oh, I want to punch through this.
Hi, I was muted.
Yeah.
We hear you, man.
Everyone signed in case we gotta do anything on the next one's name on there so we can get a count.
We had 361 sexes.
First time I voluntarily. Yeah. I think it says the. Outside with some scratch. Yeah, I tell you what, it's, I find that one has on, yeah, pretty much. Find it. Worst ones I did. It's nice in the winter time. Yeah. You know, but in the summertime, it's not very nice. Is it? No, then you're on. $1, yeah, 8077. For the speaker, and for the speaker, for like just say, yeah. Dryer wind sheet. Like, what's the count? But. That smells. Yeah. Typically, I've only run it for like a 60 hours, maybe like 32. Because there's some times to where I notice all the sudden it's just like I should go in there, and it's not strong, and it's still being safe, like it's not too much house. So yeah, they probably think about crouch 19 things like that. Which funded tolerance, anyhow, this is nothing seen all that. Yeah, it's also understanding this thing. But you're with friends, you just take the name of that. This helps in this one. Well, that's social. That's one of the, I mean, you can find that up there. You know.
Any disk.
Front door, it's the one day. Space 60, having 60 years. Everyone goes for years.
CQ40. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate everyone coming right back after we had our summer break. Hopefully everyone was able to fire up radios, dust off all the cobwebs, and make sure everything works. I think what was our last meeting? It was June. It would have been the June homework assignment was a full station test. So hopefully everyone went out there and did more than just click it on and said, yep, it glows. Hopefully everyone's been able to enjoy the hobby while we've been away. We'll start with a couple of executive board announcements tonight. We're looking for presentation ideas. I know I sound like a broken record, but we are only so creative between the five of us. So if you have any ideas for things that you'd like to see, or more importantly, if there's a presentation topic that you'd be willing to give, we'd be very, very excited to hear about that. We're always looking for fresh ideas. Even if it's a, hey, I'm new to the hobby, maybe we can do a back to basics kind of thing. Any ideas you have, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. LARC breakfast continues Saturdays at 8 at the Senate Coney Island at Plymouth and Stark. We're calling for all of those that are willing to take on a larger role in supporting the club. We need help with topics like swap, fields day, and we'd like to bring some additional members into various club roles. So at the end of this rotation, Gordon and I will be stepping down and trying to get some fresh blood into the seats here. We've been doing these roles for a couple of years. If you're willing to support the club, especially in these two roles, please reach out to anyone on the board, and we'll see where we can get you best fit in. Jamboree on the Air special support request. I'm sure most of you know Michael Flugman, Kilo Echo 8 Alpha Quebec Whiskey. He's president of the Ford Amateur Radio Club. He reached out. He's got some support that he could use on the Jamboree on the Air. So if anyone's involved with Scouts or would be interested in getting involved with Scouts from an amateur radio perspective, please come up and take a look at some of these yellow flyers that we've got up on the table up front. All right, that's everything that I've got, as long-winded as that is, that I want to get out before we do our presentation. So, with no further ado, tonight's presentation is by Drew Mortensen, Alpha Charlie 3 Delta Sierra, on the Harbor Creek High School Amateur Radio Weather Balloon. Drew, I will let you coordinate a mic check with Mr. Gordon, and then we'll pass it right over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So I guess we'll do a mic check now. Mic check, 1, 2. Thumbs up, excellent. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. And actually, it's not just me today, even though I'm the only person in the room right here. Joining me virtually is Gavin Williams. He is one of our students here at Harbor Creek High School. So he is also in the virtual meeting. So he can pop in here and say hello and add to the presentation as well. Gavin is an 11th grade student here at Harbor Creek High School. He has earned his extra class license. He has been doing this for several years now and has been instrumental in pretty much everything that we do here. So I want to give a lot of credit to Gavin and truly all of the students that are involved. This is, even though I'm presenting it, this is not really truly my project. This is the work of the students, and I'll get into that in just a moment here. So let's try this whole screen sharing business and see how that goes here. All right. This one and all right. Hopefully you're seeing the presentation. Can I get a thumbs up if that's accurate? Perfect. Thank you, Mike Tiller. I can see your thumb nice and clearly there. All right. So the amateur radio high altitude balloon launch, as we did this particular one in June of 2023. And actually it was our second one in June of 2023, but I'll get to that in just a moment here. So first, who we are. So we are an after-school group. We refer to ourselves as the Advanced Technologies Group. We do have our own school club call sign, which is KC3SGV. And we meet regularly Monday and Wednesdays from 2:45 in the afternoon until 5 o'clock. We have 3 advisors, myself, Alan Lombardozzi, who's KC3TGY, and Elaine LaFuria, who's KC3SFY. And so we are a very diverse group of students, anywhere from 7th grade all the way up through 12th grade. Any given day, we might have 15 to 25 students that are here after school for doing the things that we do, which is really a lot of just random projects that the students are interested in that are focused around radio and space and anything that is, technology centric. But it definitely has a gearing and element that is bent towards radio based things, because honestly, it's just one of the most interesting hobbies that anyone can have, at least in my opinion. And so the students seem to agree because they keep coming back on a regular basis. So here you can see a picture of one of our testing sessions that happened not too long ago, and then our wall of call signs. So this was taken a while back, but we maintain this in our club room here at the high school. So this is where the students get their call sign put up on the wall, their name, the year and the date that they get their tech and their general and their extra. So we keep adding to it. So as a way of encouraging them to continue to progress in the hobby and in their licensing. And please feel free, anyone, to stop me as I'm going and just ask a question. There's no need to wait for that. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the support structure that we have here. We are very fortunate to be connected with the Wattsburg Wireless Association. That's our local amateur radio club. And our primary Elmer is Rick Cutter, WA3MKT. He comes regularly, probably once or twice a week, to help us with different tasks, different things. He generally doesn't come when the students are present, but he comes to advise me and give me some guidance on some of the things that the students are asking, and that truly, frankly, I'm just maybe not, proficient in. If anybody is proficient in all things, amateur radio, well, then more power to you, but that's just not me. So I'm happy to have someone that is far more experienced. And when Rick doesn't know the question or know the answer, he knows someone that does know the answer. So that's hugely important for a school. We need help, that's for sure. Our primary VEs for our testing sessions are Joe Ponchak, Ron Rysek, and Ron Siebolt, who come out very regularly to help us out. And there are others as well to both categories. So this presentation is about the about the balloon launch that we did at the end of June. But this was not our first rodeo with weather balloon launching or high altitude balloon launching. We launched our very first one in 2016. We launched the next one in 2019, then 22, and then we had a first take in 2023, and then again, our second one in June of 2023. But we started a long time ago in 2016 with basically just launching a balloon with a basic payload and had a spot GPS transmitter on it to be able to then receive it and know where it was located to be able to go out and find it. We've advanced significantly since then. And the goal has always been to progress incrementally as we go along. Even though there's 5 listed here, in a previous life, I actually did balloon launches in another job that I had. So this is my 27th or 28th launch, something along those lines. So I've been doing this for a little while now. We progressed to in different ways. The first launch, we just didn't really know a whole lot about what to expect, or at least from the student perspective. And so we launched just to see how it all went. And the second one, the students were really interested in trying to make sure that it landed in a precise way or in a particular area, and they wanted to predict it relatively accurately. And sure enough, they did all of the calculations as best as they humanly could, and they got an accurate landing within 500 feet. Now, the total travel distance, horizontal across the ground travel distance, was in the order of about 75 miles. So to land it within 500 feet of where you predicted it to be over the course of that great distance is very significant. We haven't repeated that feat yet, though. Such as it is. Which actually, that was a really interesting launch just because it landed in the water, which was not ideal. But thankfully there was a boat that went out and got it very quickly, and everything was fine. We got all of our data from it. Then we progressed into amateur radio because we knew that was where we wanted to get eventually, but it just took us a little while to get there. So we then did it with APRS and a Morse code beacon, which worked out very, very well. And then in 2023, in June, early of June 2023, before school let out, we attempted to launch. Unfortunately, the balloon went up and the payload stayed down, which it just snapped a line, which can happen. The jerk force is a real thing. It's not just, well, we'll leave that for middle school. It's not. So the balloon went up, the payload stayed down, and that gave us the opportunity to make some new connections. And we did that. We made some new connections. We had to get more helium, which if anyone has attempted to do a launch anytime recently, you will have learned that the price of helium is exorbitant. When we originally started back in 2016, the cost of a tank of helium, 300 cubic feet or so, was roughly around $150, $170, something like that. By 2022, it was up to around like $250. And then in June of 23, we were quoted at $2,250, something like that. At that point, we landed up needing to get a sponsor, and thankfully Airgas actually helped us out significantly with that. So we were able to actually do the second launch in the end of June of 2023. And there was a lot that was involved in this most recent launch, and we will have more launches to come. So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty details, because I'm sure that's actually what you're interested in. So the first and primary thing was that what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to live stream our launch, but not just the launch. We wanted to live stream the actual video from the payload that was going up and then coming back down. And our hope was just to get a few minutes worth of video out of it. And we got far more than that. So we live streamed this event, and I say we, really, truly, this is the students. This is not me. Everything, and you can watch this video, I'm muted here. They were out in a field, they laid everything out. They eventually got to the point of counting down and letting it go. And then it launched, right? It went. Here's Frankie giving us the countdown. And it lifted off. And that was the first time that we were, you know, had successful video off the ground, which was huge for us. We really, truly did not know what to expect from our video setup. Everything that we had read about online said that getting live video from the air, from the payload, is difficult to do, period. But then when you're trying to do HD video, it's even more difficult. And then add a few other layers into all of this. And it was a recipe for difficulty or for challenges. But thankfully the students did a lot of homework in this and they were able to make it a success. So I'm not going to play the whole video or anything like that, but you could see we were getting video consistently. And we were hoping for like 5 minutes. If we could get 5 minutes worth of video, this would be wonderful. And we got a lot more than 5 minutes worth of video. Let's keep going here. All right, so this is what the payload looked like, just for reference purposes. It's a styrofoam container where we basically took a whole bunch of random disparate things and put it into the payload that was then launched. Nothing particularly elegant about our solution to this. We had way too many batteries that were involved in this thing. But it was what we needed to do because we had 23 students or so that were working on the project. And so everybody had a different part of the project. Everybody was working on something different. So a true systems engineering perspective of this wasn't where we were at when we got into this. We were not prepared to be able to integrate everything completely together to make it one really super clean, elegant package. That's just not where we were at. And that was fine for us. So we had very different systems. We had, and again, I'll get into all of the individual separate systems, but we had probably about 6 different systems, each with their own independent battery systems, and some measure of redundancy involved in it. The total weight of our payload, if I remember correctly, was right around 7 pounds. So we had to follow particular FAA guidelines for flying a balloon that was in that range, or a payload that was in that range. And, again, that was something that we went through. That was a part of the process for the students to make sure that we were doing everything technically, correct, but also then, legally correct. The school generally likes it when we do things legally correct. I like to keep my job. All right, so our launch goals. So for APRS, our goal was to receive packets at our mission control station and then be able to process those packets and put them back out to the web. In the prior launch, we used APRS to transmit from the balloon payload, but we didn't have our own in-house system to receive those packets and then get them onto the web. We used existing antenna infrastructure, iGates that were out in the community, other places to be able to process. In this case, we used our own, or at least that was the goal. Our goal was also to receive APRS packets mobily, and then to be able to also put those packets back to the internet from a mobile receive station that was going out and chasing the payload and the balloon as it was traveling. We had students in a van that were going and, looking for this. So I stayed back. The other advisors, Alan and Elaine, they took a group of about 10 students and went and, started the process of going to where it was supposed to land. For the beacon, our goal was to use radio direction finding to locate the payload. So while we have the spot GPS, which is down the bottom left-hand corner there, which uses a satellite, tracking methodology, our goal was to use a beacon to be able to find it and to not have to use the spot GPS tracker at all. Thankfully, this actually worked out really, really well. Again, our live video goal was to transmit and receive video for 5 minutes using amateur radio frequencies. So again, all of the video that you saw or that you look at in that YouTube video of it, it's all over amateur radio. Every aspect of what's coming from the balloon is using 433 megahertz, or 429 actually. Arduino telemetry. So we wanted to collect data from an Arduino to be able to process that and look at all of the information that was, happening with the Arduino and with the payload over time, and eventually to be able to create like a three-dimensional map of how the box was rotating in air, because we had actually added some stabilizing elements to it to try and minimize rotation and prevent other problems from occurring, which we believe that those worked, but we didn't quite get what we were hoping for. And finally, we had a cut down system that was also using amateur radio frequencies to be able to, if it landed in the top of a tree, to be able to push a button on a remote and have the package fall out of the tree. That was the goal. And the cut down system worked beautifully, but it didn't land in a tree. So thankfully, I mean, we're not complaining because, well, it did land in a tree, but it landed in such a way that it was about 3 feet off the ground. So it was a beautiful retrieval process, but the cut down system did work. We just didn't have to use it the same way. So to summarize our success and failures for this particular launch, we were able to receive our packets back at Mission Control, but we were not able to receive packets mobily in the field. The system that we were using, we actually had 2 different mobile systems, both of which did not land up working correctly. The beacon worked fine. We did use radio direction finding to find the payload. So that was a good experience of fox hunting for the students. A live video worked abundantly well. We actually had live video for the entire duration. We had, I forget what, 2 hours and 30 minutes of video from the balloon. And so considering how far away the balloon was from us and the transmit power of it, we were very, very happy with how the video went. We didn't land up having to use the spot GPS to find it. The Arduino telemetry did not land up working properly. I'll get to that in a little bit. It collected data for a little bit, but not the entire time. The cut down system, again, did work. Ultimately, the balloon and payload went to 92,000 feet high. 23 students were involved, and we collected 2 hours and 32 minutes of HD video over amateur radio frequencies. So I apologize to anybody that our use of that 6 megahertz of bandwidth messed with over the course of those 2 hours and 32 minutes. But it was for a good purpose, and hopefully it was not too bothersome to anyone. All right, so this is how we're going to break it down. The APRS, the beacon, the live video, the spot GPS, telemetry, and the cut down system. Here's our frequencies that we were using. APRS was on 144.390. Our beacon was on 143.260. I'm not sure. I don't remember, honestly. Our live video was 429.650, I think. The spot GPS is on 1.6 gigahertz. Arduino telemetry, in this particular case, we did not land up transmitting the packets over the air, but that's something that's coming in the future. We had tested it, but we didn't feel great about doing it all. We didn't have that fully vetted, that full process vetted prior to launch. So we reduced back to what we felt comfortable with, which was to record all of the data onto an SD card in the unit itself. And then our cut down system worked off of 433 megahertz. Again, this is all student work. Every single part of this is student done. They had the ideas for this. They did the design of it. They did the research of it. They did the build. They did the testing of it. The room that I'm in right now, you can see my roof here. Right above this roof is the roof of also the gymnasium, which is right next door to us. So we are at about 30 feet high. And we would drop our payload off of the side of the building and watch and test the parachute, and then test to see how things would break when they were coming down. And we broke things, and we broke payloads, and we did a fair amount of testing. Unfortunately, we didn't test one particular part of it, which failed the first time that we attempted to launch in early June, and we learned from that lesson very well. But ultimately, this is all the students' work, and they had a blast doing it. It's a really terrible picture there. Some predictions do come true. Ultimately, we landed within about a mile of where we predicted it would land. So we were very happy with that. It's a mile in this scheme is, I consider that like, that's pretty good. Again, I think, I don't actually know what the full distance was for it. Guessing probably about 50 miles, somewhere in that range. 50 miles from where we launched it, it landed. So APRS. This is what we use. We use a Bionics MicroTrack 1000. So it's a, made to order, purpose-built device. We strip it of all of its casing and then wrap it in order to reduce weight. We were really trying to reduce weight where we could on this project. The antenna is a pretty simple horizontal dipole antenna. It uses, it produces 1 watt for the APRS, which is plenty. We heard it the entire time. We received APRS packets from the time that we launched all the way to the time that it landed. Within when it was about 1,000 feet up is when we stopped receiving packets. So we had a pretty good idea about where it was coming, where it landed, because again, it was coming down at about, well, it came down faster than we intended. It came down at about 25 feet per second, something like that. Parachute did deploy, but it was still a little bit faster than we had wanted. We were able to track it the entire time, and all went well with the APRS. We watched it over aprs.fi, and again, everything was good, which was also really nice because we can look at a lot of data on aprs.fi for the purpose of, seeing how fast it's going, its temperature, all sorts of different things. As far as our receiving of the APRS packets, we use an ICOM, I think it's a 746? No, that, I don't remember. I'd have to check it. 746 Pro, I think that's what it is. And that goes to a signal link that then goes to a computer that then, feeds our packets back in. But that's all coming from an as-L antenna system that's up on our roof. The students assembled, they built this as-L system. So this is their work. So they were tracking the balloon as it was going and receiving the packets, which helped to maintain both our video signal and our, location of where it was the entire time. For the APRS, we did attempt to use the APRS Droid system with a log periodic antenna. Unfortunately, this did not land up working. We had it tested prior to, we had confirmed it working, and then we got to the day of the launch, and for whatever reason, we just couldn't get the packets from it. And we never really figured out why. It was an anomaly that day, but we have confidence that it should work in the future. We are going to try and get a standalone device rather than somebody's personal phone to make it a dedicated device, so that way we don't have to worry about updates or anything like that. We did try also a receive with an Anytone 878 UV2 Plus. If you're familiar with this particular radio, it's a very common DMR radio, handheld, that can receive APRS packets directly. But for some reason, this also does not work. We actually knew this one ahead of time. We were trying desperately to get this working for the better part of a month or so before the launch, and we could never get it. We talked to Bridgecom, we talked to the company that, or Bionics, that makes the APRS transmitter, but we could never actually get it to receive the packets. It could hear the packets just fine, but it wouldn't process them as being packets. So we never got a clear answer from anyone as to why that was the case, but it's not unique to us. No one can seem to do it with this particular combination. So then it goes to the beacon. The beacon, we used a Microfox beacon, so it was just putting out Morse code. It was putting out our signal, our call sign, our school call sign, and a nice little ditty tone. And we had this going constantly. There was no real break in the transmission from this. So for 2.5 hours, we bothered everybody that was on that particular little slice of 2 meters. But, you know, again, it was what allowed us to be able to track the balloon in real time. And it was also what allowed us to be able to find the balloon, the payload after it landed. So the students were out at the site in the end, and they were able to actually find it. But we received the signal constantly from our system on the roof that was connected back to an ICOM 9700 to, again, maintain that where is this? We could base our direction off the signal strength of the beacon, and that was how we were doing our tracking. But then once it was on the ground, our students went out with Arrow antennas and Radioddity GS5B handhelds to be able to go out and find the beacon out in the field and in the tree where it was. So this is one of our students, Giles, who was out there. Okay, so I guess before we get into the live video, any questions, anything in the chat now, or anyone that has a question up to this point? No. Excellent.
What was the total weight of the payload?
It was just over, it was like 7.03 pounds, something along those lines.
Did you have to do any special registration with the FAA, or especially given the recent spy balloon stuff?
No, the kids had decided that they wanted to paint a Chinese flag on the side of it. And considering that we were live streaming the video, we were hoping for like actual Sidewinder missile like video coming at it. Like that was kind of the hope. It didn't materialize. No, there was no different registration or anything else. There's different regulations that you have to follow, but no additional notification or anything else. We always contact our local air traffic control before every single launch that we do. So we've got a really good relationship with them. And then as far as the different regulations that goes, you know, there's just particular points of it that you just have to read and be conscious of. It deals with a weight to size ratio. And we were well under the weight to size ratio. So we were in good shape.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the legality, or did you have to notify anybody about the occupying these large bandwidths on it? The 440 you said?
Good question. So the answer to that is no. We don't have to notify anyone because it's all inside of the amateur radio frequency spectrum, the bands. Everything was inside of our allotment. However, we did take the extra steps to notify the local clubs that were around us. We did notify the ARRL. We did notify pretty much everybody that we could, both for publicity purposes and to get the names and the experience of the kids out there, but also so that way, if there were any issues, people would know about it. To be fair, we did get some feedback before we ever launched that there were concerns from a few local, not local here, but local like Pittsburgh area folks that were concerned that we might land up interfering with things around Washington, D.C. and Maryland, and but we maxed out at 1 watt of transmit power. So we did not make it that far to be able to interfere with the amateur TV signals that were on the other side of the state. I guess it's theoretically possible that it might have, but we never heard anything from anyone outside of our, couple 100-mile radius.
So Drew, we have a couple of questions in the chat. The first question, given the high price of helium, what are you planning to use as a lifting gas for future launches?
There was brief discussion about switching over to hydrogen, since that is what NOAA uses now for a lot of theirs. However, the obvious problems with hydrogen being what they are, we have decided very clearly against using hydrogen with the kids. So we're going to continue to use helium. And as far as the price of the helium goes, Airgas has very generously offered to help us defer the costs of the helium. Not all of it, but a very, very significant portion of it. So making it doable still.
Another question from the chat room here is, are the batteries qualified for near vacuum air pressure?
They are definitely not. Absolutely not. But we are also not hitting anywhere near vacuum. So at 100,000 feet, we're not there. Now, granted, the air pressure is significantly less there, but we're not anywhere near the vacuum of space. We love to call these space balloons, and but really, truly, we're not anywhere close. We're up about I forget what it is, around 19 miles high, something like that. So we're not getting our astronaut wings anytime soon, unfortunately. And the max that balloons got up to is somewhere around, if I remember correctly, somewhere around 110, 120,000 feet. For anything that we could actually do, the most personally that I've ever gotten to, I think, is 107,000, 108,000 feet, something like that. But even with the really, really big, super thin ones, you can't get too crazy high. No, nothing is rated for near vacuum.
What kind of devices they use to create the telemetry for the beacon?
Can you ask that question one more time for me? Sorry, I thought I heard a question there, something about the telemetry and beacon.
We're gonna hand them the mic.
Yeah, very good job presenting that. I'm just wondering the telemetry for the beacon, was there a computer or a cell phone, or what you use for the altitude and all that other telemetry? What created that stuff?
Okay, so that's really good question. So we refer to this Bionics Microfox as a beacon, but for our purpose, the beacon is just for finding it after the fact and for tracking it in real time, in the sense of being able to directionally find it in the air. So that way we can keep it locked on based off of the signal strength that we're receiving from it relative to our ASL Yagi system. As far as actually receiving telemetry information, we got that mostly from our APRS device. So that was able to tell us the temperature inside of the box as it was going. It was able to tell us the direction that it was moving, the speed that it was moving at, the GPS position of it. That was where we got a lot of information. I'll get to the other device, the Arduino device that we have that we used to collect other telemetry information that was being recorded onto an SD card. One of our future goals is to actually have that same Arduino device transmit it over 433-ish megahertz to be able to receive all of those packets real time as well. So having two separate standalone systems, the APRS that does it inherently, and then our program device that not just records it onto an SD card, but also transmits it. So I'll get to that in a second. Good for questions so far? All right, then we'll jump into the live video side of this. So this is a picture of our complete setup. We used a Raspberry Pi that had a camera attached to it. It's called an ARDU cam, ARDU cam. And that Raspberry Pi then took that camera. One of our students wrote a Python script to be able to activate the camera and to be able to keep that camera sustained on the screen of the desktop, essentially, of the Raspberry Pi. And we were able to put out that desktop image, so the camera footage at full screen, through the HDMI port, from the HDMI port of the Raspberry Pi and into this box here. This is the high-des HV320. And so this is our modulator. So this took the HDMI signal, it deconstructed it and then reconstructed it and modulated it out as an RF signal. And so it converted it into a QPSK format with 6 megahertz of bandwidth centered around 429.650 megahertz. And so this puts out about, if I remember correctly, about 10 milliwatts of power. And that 10 milliwatts of power then gets put into this amplifier. This is the KH6 HTV amplifier. This is his model 77B. Now, when we bought this, I bought this one for the kids when I talked to the gentleman that made this, he had said, like, I have never intended this to be used in a balloon before. I don't know how this is going to work. This is not what we did this for. It's heavy, it's clunky, like it's just, but go for it, have at it. And so we said, okay. So we stripped different parts of it off. The fan of it, we stripped off a lot of the structure around it. It had a really large connector for the RF, like an N style connector. We stripped that off of it, trying to reduce the weight. Even the knobs and all of this stuff landed up coming off of it. We shortened down all of the wires as much as possible to strip off as much weight as we possibly could before putting it into the box. And so it didn't look a whole lot like this when it ultimately went in. But it's an amplifier, right? And it had 3 basic power settings: low, medium, high. Low was 220 milliamps, medium is 1 watt, and high is 3 watts on HD video. We had no idea what to expect, so we went with 1 watt. We shot for the middle, and we were very, very pleased with the results of that. Next time, we will definitely be going low power because we had a perfect signal, mostly perfect signal the entire time. So 1 watt coming from this thing was way more than what we needed. So we'll change that up a little bit in the future. The antenna structure that we built for it, the students had come up with a few different antennas that they had assembled, that they had built. Ultimately, they kept getting broken and things just kept getting destroyed as we were testing them. Our Elmer helped us to come up with this particular design for an antenna and that was basically allowed it to focus the RF energy effectually down, right? Nothing was going up. The primary lobe of this was facing down. So it's kind of like an inverted disc cone type of antenna. So it was just pushing the energy down. For receiving the signal, we had a bunch of different ways. This was one of the ways that we used it, that we received the signal that was coming back to us. This is a Mingbao receiver that we bought off of Amazon for $30. And this just allows you to program it for what frequency you want to receive. So we, put in our 439.650 megahertz. We told it that it was 6 megahertz bandwidth. We told it that it was QPSK, and it worked. It was clean. So we got to take this video feed that was then we were using our ASL antenna system to feed into this, that then fed into our live streaming system. So all of the video that you're seeing on the live stream of it was coming from this particular head-end unit. But we did have mobile receive for it. So the students were able to figure out how to use an RTL SDR dongle to, instead of using it for the radio purpose, which is what we all typically use it for, to not use it for the radio purpose, but to use it for what it was originally designed for, which was for video receive signals. Like if you look at an RTL SDR, the first thing it says on it is DVB-T, which is exactly the type of signal that we were putting out across, across the air. And so we used the RTL SDR for what it was originally designed for. We had a Yagi antenna that was then, all of this was then connected back to a laptop where the kids came up with the directions for how to get other people to be able to watch the video. So we actually had other local folks here that were able to watch the video as it was going up and coming down. So they were driving around, they had their Yagis out, they were watching it throughout the course of the 2.5 hours that it was up. So all using VLC media player on the laptop. So again, kudos to the kids for getting the directions done for that. We did have a spot GPS unit that was in it that transmits up to a satellite, its location. We didn't have to use this at all. It wasn't necessary. Thankfully, it's very small, very lightweight, very easy to use. It is not terribly reliable though. We actually didn't have any transmission from this the entire trip until it landed. We had no signal from this the entire time until it landed. Once it was on the ground, then it pinged its location, but we never had to use that for the purpose of finding it. The Arduino. So Gavin Williams, who is on this video chat with us here, he is the student that created that programmed the Arduino, programmed the all of the sensors to collect all of the data for it, and it was very well done. Truly, it was clean, it was simple, the code was very nicely put together. I kept throwing him curveballs and making him add stuff afterwards. Hey, why don't you add this? Why don't you swap this sensor out for this? And he kept having to roll with the punches, and he kept doing it and reprogramming. And even up to like the week before, I was like, hey, why don't you try and get it to transmit this over the air? And he's like, all right, I'll try it. And he got it to work, but we weren't super confident with how all of it was put together, and we needed to get it done and wrapped up. So we went back to his original design. And so we had sensors of GPS, gyroscope, temperature, humidity, pressure, and the data it was collecting at the time, it recorded for about 3 minutes, and then it stopped. And we don't know why. We have since tested it again, and it seems to work fine. The first 3 minutes, it was not very high up. There was no reason why we can think of that it should have stopped. The power bank that it was using when we checked it when it got down still showed having a full charge. Plugged it all in, and it was all still working. So we're not really sure what happened. It recorded for 3 minutes and then just decided to stop. So we're not really sure. But Gavin did a fantastic job with the programming of it. All of the data works. Our best guess for why it did not work in this particular time, our best guess is that there was probably a loose connection somewhere. That's the only thing that we can really think of that would have landed up having it terminate, because after it turns off, you have to reinitialize it to start the recording again, and that's what we didn't get. So once it was off, it was off. So we're not really sure about that. The cut down system that we had, this is what it looks like. This was designed again by one of our students and our group of students, led by a student named Sadie. Sadie is now a 9th grader. She was in 8th grade when she designed this. This uses nichrome wire, an Adafruit feather, LoRa board, so the LoRa modem boards, and a power relay to be able to switch the power on and off. these are the electronics that we were using. If you see that particular battery that we have there, the 18650 high current battery, you may know this type of battery. We know it here at the school very well. It's also referred to as a vape battery. Thankfully, we have a very steady supply of vape batteries here at the school, collected thanks to our process of finding said contraband. So we've got all of the rechargeable batteries that we could want for a long time to come. So the cut down system worked. It landed in a tree though, but it landed and it was hanging at eye level. So we didn't need to use the cut down system, but we did test it and it worked perfectly fine. So she did a great job. That team did a great job of designing and constructing that cut down system. Oh, so it uses nichrome wire, just to clarify that. It uses nichrome wire to release a particular piece of paracord or string that was holding kind of different pieces together. It works. In the future, we're looking to do more controlled, precise landings. We'd like to be able to tell it where we want it to land and say, we want you to land in this particular place and have it come down in a particular spot. So, SpaceX style, landed on a platform, which, would be incredibly difficult to do because the balloon has no ability to do anything like that. There's no thrusters, there's no rocket, there's no additional propellant to be used, but we'll figure that out. The kids are resilient, they'll get there. Reduced power, we had, I think, like 6 different batteries. We had a 9-volt battery, we had a few lithium polymer batteries, we had the 18650 battery, we had a 6 amp hour LiFePO battery for the video. We had a lot. So we just really like to reduce the total power consumption for this. And then we'd really like to combine the systems. We have a lot of disparate systems that we really want to bring all together into one payload, one package, one thing. So that's another one of those goals. Other things that we're doing, because we're not just this, we have an ARIS contact that's coming up in December. Which is wonderful. Kids are super pumped about that. So they'll be talking with the ISS, and we have our own equipment here at the school to be able to do that. So it's all stuff that the students have built, the students have assembled. It's their stuff. It's their work that will allow that direct contact to happen. The kids are getting into astrophotography right now. There's a big astrophotography mount over my shoulder there. Radio astronomy, I've got a couple satellite dishes that are here that they started working on, and today they took it outside and they were trying to find the spike for galactic hydrogen. They really want to build an Earth Moon Earth system, so we'll just do that in the spring. And of course there's a lot of other things going on. So that's what that is. So I guess questions about any of the cut down system, the Arduino, the spot GPS, the video, any questions about any of that?
Are you familiar with the W5KUB group? They launch balloons, etc. In fact, they've got a balloon as of today that's been it's been aloft for 354 days and counting.
Yes, the mid ballooning, right? The ones that can circumnavigate the globe 7 times or so, and use like the whisper transmitters.
Right. They started out at it had a
I missed the second part of that comment there, Chris. You said that they started out, and then I kind of got cut off there from you.
and I think we lost them in the meeting.
Okay.
Another question, is the Aries contact going to be direct or telebridge?
It will be direct. The kids have been learning how to use the SAP PC 32 software to be able to track the ISS and use the AS-L system that we have on our roof that they put together. We actually have a second AS-L system that they're going to be working on very soon here. That's not specifically for that purpose, but it will be a like tertiary system. Our backup is it's like a standard ground plane antenna, a much more simple process for that. But yep, it's going to be a direct contact.
I have a quick question. For the students, were they able to integrate any of this into their school activities, for courses and that?
That's a great question. Gavin, any thoughts about that? I don't know if you have a mic or not.
Hello.
Go for it, Gavin.
Okay. Well, as part of this for classes, it wasn't really involved in any of my other school happenings. I did reach out to, in my robotics class, I did reach out to the teacher there. He did help me a little bit with the coding. Yeah.
And to be fair, our students range from 7th grade up to 12th grade. It's a very wide range. And so, yeah, I mean, there's definitely application points for this stuff in the physics class and the Gen Sci class, things like that. But we try and keep it kind of light. I don't know if you would agree with that, Gavin, or not, but I think you have to now that you're on here and I'm asking you it. But we don't really try and do a whole lot of specific in-class things. I don't know if that makes sense. Other questions?
No, I don't see any in the chat right now. I'm here in the meeting.
Okay. I mean, truly, if anyone has any questions about any part of this in the future, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to put you in touch with a particular student or group of students that did a particular part of it. I've been around all of it, but it's not that Gavin, how much programming did I do of all of everything with the Arduino?
Little to none.
Little to none. Not that I don't enjoy it, but it's not my project, it's the kids. So they did the work. So I could definitely ask them any questions that you may have.
So Drew and Gavin, one of the slides, when you looked at I think it was launch number 4, I had to laugh because it was well before my time with the radio club, but we had a almost identical outcome. The balloon went up, but it went up on a solo mission, and the payload stayed behind.
We had to run out by helium.
And what, day of, try to source a new balloon, new tank?
Grand Rapids and buy more helium. Welding company. Grand Rapids.
Jeez. So don't feel bad. It happens to everybody, apparently. Sometimes they get away from you. Guys, thanks very much for the time tonight. You're welcome to stick around. We've got some business points going on. So you're welcome to stay in the meeting with us, but we really appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you.
All right, we'll kick off some old business with roll call, and I'll send it through the front table here. I'm Mike, Kilo Echo 8, Charlie Echo Hotel.
Delta 8, Gordon, Kilo Delta 8, Oscar Juliet.
Just WBAA.
Mike, K8DGY. James Keller, W8WW.
Joe Rourke, KE8QES.
Norm, K8DIJ.
Mike, KE8YMN. Dan, K8PLW.
Tom, Kilo 8, Charlie.
Michael, Kilo Echo 8, Alpha, Quebec Whiskey. Sean, KE8SP. Zach, KZRY. Ron, KTTJ.
Mike, N8MR. Andy, KD8ZPX.
Keith, KE8AUO.
Tom, KE8YVH.
Bill, KD8HSK.
Alan, N8PTU. Taz, K8TAS.
Doris, K8DXJ.
David, KE5XD.
Patrick, KD8DGC.
All right, we've got a whole bunch online, but for the guys online and for the guys that are in the room, please throw a hand up if you are a guest this evening, any non-members that are joining us. Right. All right. The on-the-air report. So we'll need to go back, Mr. Gordon, to the non-speaker view so we can get the whole grid of everyone.
Gallery.
Brady Bunch.
And for those of you that are logged on in the room, don't double count with the hands there. So anyone that's in the room with us, if you've been on the air since the last time we met in June, I think it was. So hopefully we get a lot of hands. Put a hand up and hold it up in the air until we get a count. For those of you that are on, there's some kind of feature to put a hand up. I'm not really sure where, but I see that everyone's already finding it.
Screen reactions, race. Is it to be transmitting or receiving?
All right.
Good clarification, Pat.
So you got 24 in the room. We online. 5. All right. Secretary's report from Mike is available upon request. Treasurer's report, Mr. Bill.
We completed the last meeting in June with $8,400. We had an income up until last night of $2,526. Of that, we got a $2,300 donation, and we had about $200 in new membership. Expenses, we had a new laptop that we used for field day, which was $742. $65 for badges. Field day, $156. Mailbox was $166, which keeps going up. And for the picnic, $208. So our total expenses was $1,450. And so our ending balance is $9,477. Anybody any questions?
Thanks. 2-meter net report. Mr. Hero, we can see you online there.
Good evening, everybody. This is Hero ADA. Thank you for joining. First of all, thank you for audio and video feed for meeting is very good today. And speaking of video feed, I'm very impressed with all these high school kids getting all these video feed up from live video feed from the balloons, and like Japan been launching rockets for decades, but I haven't seen their live feed yet from their rocket. So I guess you guys are ahead. Anyways, let me see. All right, thank you for joining, and this is statistics of our 2-meter nets on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. on our repeater. By the way, our repeaters are a little acting up lately. I don't know if Dan had a chance to address yet, but I'm pretty sure he will get to that. So we've been doing very good on attendance and the participation in the during net as well for these discussion topics and all. We do have full regular net control, plus we have Keith helping out on once in a while, but we're still looking for net control to help us out on the LARC 2 meter net on Thursday nights. So if you could let me know, I appreciate it. And discussion topics, as always, I would like to see some suggestions, and I do get from time to time, and I appreciate that. Our repeaters are on the Echolink K8UNS-R in case you don't have a RF feed to the LARC 2 meter repeaters. We do have Keys also runs, Keys KD8ZSK runs Wayne County repeater crawl still. That's very interesting. I haven't been able to join lately, but once summer is over, which is about now, I'm planning to start joining some of those. So thank you very much. And we had LARC 2 meter net challenge by run by the Sandra. I see you, Sandra, online earlier, and thank you very much for running. And we have a recorded history of 42 contacts that she acquired in July, and we didn't have a meeting to give this out, so I'm doing that right now. We do have a schedule on our website as shown on the screen. I need to update that for October, but yeah, that's what it looked like. And we do have a net logger that we use during the net. How to use a net logger is on our website as well. And if you could, it really helps out net control to find out who is online as well. So if you get a chance, please check it out and try using that. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hero.
One thing to mention for those who are net control, using Echolink quite often from downtown, count to 5 before seeing if there's any other stations. As let's take a moment for Echolink to allow you in and
to drop from the.
It's been frustrating trying to get in to get up, and so that's the only thing that I would ask. On that, if there's a query on any other stations with that, give a moment for Echolink to reset itself so you can then jump in.
Sure. And Hero, I think you have in the. Been a long time since I looked at it, but the operators training, I think you mentioned that. But if not, that'd be a good point. Is the delay to allow Echolink to recognize the channels open?
It's more of a case when you're near the end of everybody talking, and you go back out, if there's any last people that want to check in, they tend to go right and give them about 5 seconds, and you really need to give about 15 seconds to make sure that everything drops off and then comes back. Then the Echolink can work.
Yep.
Are you talking about the delay of the Echolink, or?
Yeah, Echolink takes a while to recognize that the channel is available. It won't let you double with someone.
Oh yeah, we are aware of that, and our net control is aware that we're supposed to give some time. Seems like we don't have as much delay as we used to have nowadays, probably because of the better internet connection. But yeah, we are aware of that.
All right. Our next LARC in the Park is on October 14th. Joe picked the topic of radio shootout, and before everyone gets too excited, it's a distance and coverage testing. So October 14th, we'll do a radio shootout. Upcoming VE sessions, the next one, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I looked at the calendar, it was November 15. Sound right? Okay. And that'll be at the Livonia PD as well?
Right.
Okay. I want to make sure I can still read. It seemed a little far off. It's every other month on the second Wednesday.
Usually, yes.
Okay. Library display cases. Mr. Chuck, I'll send the mic over your way. I think you had a request for a couple of topics.
Okay, back in 2019, we were asked by the Livonia Library if we'd like to make use of their display cases, which are in the main browsing area of the library when you walk in. I got some photographs here. And we did that, and we had a pretty cool filled up 4 displays cases with amateur radio and club related information that apparently was well received. We did it again in 2021, focusing on space communications and satellites. We had a model, or had an actual working model of a CubeSat that we had in one of the cases, and kind of surrounded that with amateur radio and ARIS and other space and satellite related communications info. They approached us again late last year, wanted to know if we'd do it again, and so I said, "Oh, sure." We said that she said Kathy at the library said October was available, so I said, "Okay, fine." Well, of course, now it's just about October, and going back to old school habits, putting things off till way toward the end. But early on, decided to make the focus of the display amateur radio emergency communications and capabilities, and we've got enough info, I think, to put both printed and hardware to put in the cases. I've been working with Keith, Katie at ZSK, who's probably heard a few times tonight. He's procured for us a hospital go kit that we're going to put in one of the cases. He's also got providing with some literature from Wayne County ARPSC, and we'd like to get any other kind of emergency comms related info that we can in the cases. So if you guys have things like photos of hams working on local parades, any info we could printed type info or a card that we could put in to describe what the role of APRS, how we communicate with other emergency operations centers and other, for instance, we theoretically have HF capability to do that, but we'll see. Any other kind of descriptions, printed or photographic or hardware that show how we are in place to assist the local folks with emergency comms if they ask us to. And I know the club's got a number of early responders who can hop in their cars and go to the EOC and help out with that. And we'd like to make people aware of that capability, that there are people in amateur radio in the community that can assist with disaster and emergency communications that don't involve our personal aching joints. So if you have stuff that you can contribute to put in a case that would visually be interesting, whether it's again, printed photograph, a little piece of gear or something, we'd appreciate that. We're planning on meeting at the library next week, Tuesday, around 4 o'clock to put stuff in the cases. So if you either have materials or if you have ideas for stuff that could be added in and included, please let me know. You can email me at wv8a@arrl.net, or via the club address info@livoniaarc.com. But yeah, whatever you guys can help out with. I know the last time we did it, we had a few folks who were available to help out and load stuff in. So if you're available again next Tuesday, we'd greatly appreciate both a couple of extra hands and some ideas and some materials to stock the boxes with. I think that's pretty much sums it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. All right, any other old business before we jump to the new stuff? Old topics that we brought up before, we need to bring up again. All right. First thing on new business is new members and license upgrades.
We had a few ads for the summer. Let's see, Ray Wright, KDRT, Barb Pranger as an associate, Tim Pranger, KE8JMQ, Steve Smith, KY7H. Interesting story here. His brother-in-law was one of the people who helped form this club. As his brother-in-law's call sign was KUNS. He died of a brain tumor, some sort of a brain thing, abnormality. And so the club that formed out of those people that were remaining decided to adopt his call sign for the club. And he lives out in Arizona, and he's been calling into the weekly meeting or weekly net just about every week. And then last is Tom Mitchell, KE8YVH. And then we had one of our associate members who decided to take the exam, Paul Wagner. He went from former ham to extra in one session. His current call sign is 88LD, but he wants his old 2x3 back, and so he's applied for it. Any questions?
All right, and Paul, I can see you're there on the video. Is anyone else from our new members either in the room or on online with us tonight? All right. Well, congratulations, everyone, and Paul, especially you. That is rather impressive. All right. Not exactly a urgent one, but we want to make sure everyone has the information as early as possible. The Edmund Fitzgerald Special Event Station is going to be November 11th at Dawson Great Lakes Museum on Belle Isle. The Whiskey 8 Foxtrot call sign authorization for club members is going to be November 1st through 12th, so that we can make those contacts from home. In years past, we have looked at every other year donating $100 to Dawson because they let us use the room, they let us use the yard, they don't charge us anything, and we're not bringing in a whole lot of foot traffic for them that makes them a lot of extra money, if any. So we thought it would be nice to donate them $100 every other year. We will have to get a count real quick, so if everyone just hangs tight, because we didn't put this in the budget for this year, but we'd like to see if the club would approve of it. But before we can even do that, we got to check that we have a quorum. So give us about 30 seconds here.
Where's the sign list? 24 here, signed in.
24 in there. Okay. And we got unfortunately, Gordon, we got to look at how many are not members or double. We've got you and we've got Chuck in there for sure.
13 that are not here.
Got 37. No, we need 35. Okay. We'll need someone to make a motion. Jim?
I'll second, Mike.
All right. Got to be a little specific for $100 for the.
Make a motion that we think that this year, Dawson Museum and appreciation. So, letting us use it. So.
All right, we have a motion and a second. James and Keith, there, Mike. James and Keith for the motion and second.
Keith? Okay.
Yep.
Keith won.
To allocate $100 for a donation to the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. All in favor, please put a hand up and keep it up till we get a count. And then same procedure for everyone online. Man, Doris, you made this easy all these years. It'll look easy. Running around count. I can't count nearly as fast.
Right. It's easy.
You had 2 thumbs up, that went away.
727 visible now, which for a simple majority is
8 on the screen.
okay. All right, so we will go ahead and donate $100 to Dawson Great Lakes Museum. On that note, I know we always run in the door. We pack up when we're done and we head out. But if you guys have never looked around in there, it's a very cool place. if you can bring, family comes in out of town or you've got nothing to do on a weekend, go up there, buy a ticket, see if we can patronize them. Patronize? Only seen that word written. Patronize. Patronize them a little bit and bring some more business their way.
Sometimes we've had visitors come in who were visiting a museum that weren't aware of us being there, and a couple of amateurs who said, oh, you know, they were interested, that they were cool with the fact that we were doing that. And every year when there are a lot of contacts that we make in the Midwest of people who either look forward to this every year or didn't know about it, and we're really happy of us doing that because they're fans of the whole Fitzgerald saga. So we do, you know, it's not just rubber stamp every year. It's new people who make contact with us and look forward to it, and it's a nice way to observe the event.
Didn't go with that piece of, was it Tagonite?
I have it.
You have it in yours?
I have it front and center. Faced it to my, yeah, I've got that sitting, I'm invisible to bring it.
Thanks, Josh.
For anyone that's not familiar, and I apologize, I don't have the gentleman's name that provided it to us.
What gentleman have Monroe, WA something, was given a piece of taconite that was on board, part of the cargo of the Fitzgerald, and he got it from the widow of the cook of the ship who went down with the ship. And there's a little certificate with it, authenticity. Anyhow, he a couple years ago donated that to us, to the club, and I currently have custody of it because we don't have a trophy case to put it in. So, but we'll bring it along to the event on the 11th at Dawson.
Right. Next item here, as we mentioned in the treasurer's report, from John Matthew, who is one of our members who is a silent key now. He has bequeathed us the amount of $2,300 to the club. I know we've gotten in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten a couple of ideas for things that the club could use or the club needs if budget's not too far around the corner. But if there's something that you think the club could really benefit from that in the past has kind of been a financial no-go zone, let us know, and we'll see if we can look at some options. We'll propose it, and then we'll vote on the budget in February. Vote on it in February. All right. Elmering activities and helping hands. Are there any topics or projects that anyone needs help with? And no roofs, no boom lifts. We're done with that. Yes, sir.
Got a question for new business. Just was doing some talking with some folks and thought I'd throw this idea out to see if there was any interest. Since we are part of the city of Livonia and that, they asked, what do we do to publicize the club? And they mentioned the spring that a number of groups and organizations. I mentioned to Gordon about, future goals of maybe getting some sort of operating station, renovating a trailer net, which this is not the time or place for that idea. But the thought was, what could we do if there's interest in it and doing something at the Spree to publicize amateur radio?
Spree is always the same. It's
the same week as field day. Yeah. But seeing if and anything we can do to publicize the club, maybe not this year, next year, it might be a 5-year thing. Who knows? But I originally mentioned before doing message traffic so that Billy can send a message to grandma through amateur radio or something. But then again, trying to change the stereotype that amateur radio operators, the guy next door to me, he used to get into my TV type thing. Maybe just having an exhibit or something, even a few days before field day, having something, and that would be up to if there's enough interest the whoosy whatsy housey of it.
Yeah, I'm sure that I've never gone to Spree, but I'm sure there are a lot of groups that just have flyers or have a little display of some kind just to get their name out there with or without a person to man the booth, but just having it out there. So yeah, we'll keep that under consideration as a external communications.
I just sort of want to throw that out. So
Yeah.
You know.
Patrick, did you have something?
Well, yeah, as far as the meeting at hand, I know a couple of people in the club were gurus with rotors. And it looks like I had a rotor casualty, which is one of the couple of things that have broken in the year or so that I've had to be away from, operating. So if anybody is well versed in the way, and when I say wrong with, I mean it's dead, right? There's not a short, it just doesn't move. So something's probably seized up or something, but if there's anybody who's got a lot of experience before I start digging in there myself, just wanted to ask and see.
The real question is it already on the bench or is it 100 feet in the air?
Oh no, it's my satellite stuff, so it's very accessible.
Okay, that's gonna get you a lot more helping hands.
The elevator shift rotor is actually in my car right now. The azimuth one I only found out this week is broken, so I have a chance to take it off fast. But
Well, I've got tools in the car. How long do we have the room?
yeah, pretty much.
All right, if anyone can help out with the rotor, Patrick needs some hands with that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name names, but I know a couple of people in here that have pulled a few of those apart.
Yeah.
You should be able to find some help.
Yeah, and I don't know what it needs. If you have to catch me afterwards, or you can, give me an EGC at ARL, whatever. Appreciate it.
All right, anything else for helping hands? Any topics or projects or physical help that anyone needs or information?
Question. So speaking of antennas, so I don't have one. So are there companies that will put one in for you? I don't, like, if I want to put up a tower, somebody can pour base and put it up for me. Like, I don't know if you want to pay somebody games cost. I understand. I don't know if somebody does it.
Towers should be a lot easier, but antennas by themselves, I've not heard of it, but I'm sure that's part of a tower.
Professional antenna installer. Are there? Sure. That's right. Recently, our N8XI who's online had a call for some help getting some rotor tightened up, fixed, which he got a hand with. But in our chat, I was suggesting that too bad there's not somebody to start some company up like Ham Handyman or something, or Angie's List for radio piece, where you had people who could just, every day of the week you see somebody who needs an antenna strung up or a pole put up or something like this, and there's no real standing group of people that who you gonna call,
Do you have trees in your backyard? I do, but they're not really very conveniently close to the house. Yeah.
Teach them how to use a spud launcher.
There's a couple of companies. One is Great Lakes Tower and Antenna. They're at this point in time not doing residential work. They used to. Maybe they will go back to doing it. That's what I'm praying for. And there's another company called the Antenna Men that are out of the Lansing area. And they're, if you've got a tower already up and you want somebody to put up a tri-bander and stuff like that, they work by the hour. And they're pretty good guys. But if you're wanting to start from scratch with a tower, I can help you until the tower gets to 30 feet.
I'm afraid of heights too.
Thank you, Diane.
I'm at 6 feet.
All right, we got a couple of hands on
my wife and
online here for the helping hand.
taking a thought.
Randy, you have your hand up.
Yep, I do. I always publicize it in the newsletter, and it actually is. We need helping hands for the Detroit Turkey turkey trot, the run before the Thanksgiving Day parade. It kind of ties in with our emergency communication system. We need ham operators who are eyes and ears on the course to help, 7,000 runners find their way from start to finish. So anybody, it takes a few hours on Thanksgiving morning. You're home well before noon. So, Bill there, myself, Keith AUO, and John CRK, who calls into our net all the time. The information is in this month's newsletter, so we could certainly use some extra helping hands and their radios. Thanks much.
Riding a motorcycle with me, talk on the radio.
And Keith, KD8ZSK, you got a hand up as well.
Yeah, I do. Can I share a screen quick?
That's up to Mr. Gordon. It should be unlocked.
Let's see. Share screen. Yep. This is a press release we're going to put out for the simulated emergency test coming up. So coming up fast, October 14th. It's a Saturday. I heard there's a lot of other things going on too. But I've got a local radio station we think is going to put this out for us, and it's to talk a little bit about the simulated emergency test, 8:30, probably through noon on the 14th. It's a Saturday, and it's all of the kind of things that we do, and I'm interested in anyone that might want to join us. We need folks that participate probably in the Wayne County ARPSC, but we also need other people maybe that have not joined the Wayne County ARPSC, but just want to be another amateur radio operator there that could help. So this should play on some local radio station or stations if it works out well, and wanted to make everybody aware of it. If you wanted to join us on the net, the 145.33 WR8DAR repeater is probably the right place to check in about 8:30 a.m.
All right, very good. For those that are either in the room or online that have never participated in, witnessed, or are not familiar with the emergency test, can you give us like a 10,000-foot overview of what's actually taking place during that time? What kind of information's being handed around over the air?
Yep, there's two tests usually every year, simulated emergency tests in Michigan, and they vary in the connections for communications. This one is using a PACE system, but what we try and do is trade messages like, I need 2 amateur radio operators, and I need them to be able to operate radios at my station, maybe in a location like Washtenaw County. And oh, by the way, they are going to be working the midnight shift till 6 a.m. Can you send them right away? Kind of thing. So they're all a little bit in fun. Nobody really usually has to move. Every once in a while, we've asked people, like in the spring, we sent some people out to fire stations and police stations and take a picture of it. And that worked out great. And all of these things just kind of prove that should the need arise, we can communicate.
All right, very good. Can you send us that page that you've got there, and we can distribute that as you request, whether it's to everybody or?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Who should I send it to?
Board at LivoniaARC.com. We'll get it out.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Keith. We'll see if we can get you some help with that. All right, anything else for Elmering activities or helping hands?
My event count for this?
Yeah, if so I mentioned at the beginning, but if you could give us a quick overview of what you're going to do.
Oh, sure.
This would be, yeah. You can definitely speak on it better than me.
Okay. For those who don't know me, my name is Michael, KEAAQW, and I do a lot of volunteer with the Boy Scouts, and there's an event third weekend in October called Jamboree on the Air, where scouts all over the world will try to get on the amateur radio and try and talk to each other. And so different ham clubs and stuff typically host activations that weekend and invite the scouts to come out. So this year I'm putting together an event at D-Bar Scout Ranch, which is in Metamora, for those of you familiar with scouting in the area. And so just looking for some volunteers to come out and help play radio, get some of the scouts on the air, and was also thinking maybe doing a fox hunt. So if anyone had a fox that they like to donate or any fox hunting gear, and maybe could, or if someone wanted to come out and, you know, this is how you search for the thing, for the activity, and maybe walk with them, that'd be great. So if you would like to help out with that, just let me know and I'll take down your info. So thanks.
Like we've got your flyer.
Oh, perfect. And we have some flyers.
And they're downloadable on our website.
All right. Anything else for Elmering activities or helping hands this evening? All right, moving on to the corkboard. Corkboard section is for anyone looking to buy or sell amateur radio equipment or accessories. And as always, please discuss prices off the air. Anything for the corkboard tonight?
Mike, let everybody know they can get those caps.
So Andy printed out PL 259 male and female caps. So for those of us that sometimes we forget if we even have an active license anymore, we can cap our gear and keep the connectors clean. Or especially if you're in the middle of running coax and want to cover it up to keep it from getting.
You can also put them on the back of your radio if you put the kit, keep the PL 239 from getting junk in it.
Did I say 259? What, one of them is 251. SO 239. Either way, the one that's not N. So if you guys need any of those, please come up and grab them. We've got those caps up on the table here. So thanks very much, Andy, for printing those out. Anything else for the corkboard tonight? All right, I'll take that as a no. Any announcements this evening? Mr. Bill?
As of the end of this meeting, I will be accepting renewals for membership for 2024, $20. Also, the following people have already renewed. Please do not renew again. They are Rick Garzano, Cliff Holcomb, Chris Kanya, who keeps trying to renew and keeps trying to renew, Jerry Kafka, and Ryan Myers and Kimball Williams. One other item is all of your phones will be going off at 2:20 on October 4th. The National Emergency Network notification is going to go out on all the radios, TVs, and all your cell phones between 2:20 and 2:40. They don't know. They said they're going to start at 2:20, but it's going to be done by 2:40 p.m. Any questions about that?
We got one. Does the do not disturb override that?
Yes.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if the president sends one out, does the do not disturb override that? I know there's a secret squirrel one that you cannot stop.
If it comes out over the National Emergency Network, well,
Could be blowing off the sirens also.
no, they will not be turning the sirens off.
I know they can use them to do voice announcements.
I mean, that's really a city by city decision. Only in Wayne County. In Oakland County controls all their sirens. And other counties they do it individually, depending on how they want.
All right. Any other announcements this evening?
Hey, Mike, it's Keith.
Go ahead, Keith.
The way I heard the announcements were going to work for your phone was if your phone is attached to a cell tower, the cell tower has the obligation to send it to all phones attached to the cell tower.
You can turn your phone off.
Yep, or airplane mode or whatever else you can try. We probably should run up a profile. But yeah, if the cell tower sees the phone, send a message.
Remove the curve and.
All right. Upcoming meetings and events. The next general meeting will be on October 23rd in this building. The next board meeting will be October 9th. The 2-meter net is always on Thursdays at 8 p.m. on the 145.35 megahertz K8 UNS repeater and on Echolink. And as always, please keep an eye on the website. Any updates? We got a question from the field. Chris, go ahead.
Chris?
We lost you
Not-
earlier. We can hear you.
Okay, I didn't have a question. I thought you were opening it up for another announcement.
Oh, if you have an announcement, go ahead.
Yeah, as some of you know, I post daily the sunspot activity and the solar flux index. And have a look at that, guys. If you're wondering what the bands are going to be like, that's the best way to find out. I post it daily. A friend of mine, a friend of the club, he used to be a member of the club, but since he's moved to Lakeland, Florida, home of the Detroit Tigers winter camp, he is obviously not going to make a meeting or anything like that. But he used to be N8MYO. He is now currently N4RTD. But Russ and I put together these reports, and I posted on the Livonia Amateur Radio Club Facebook page, as well as oh God, Mastodon.radio and Hazel Park, Central Michigan, Northern Michigan, the Michigan Digital Group. Oh geez, who else? W5KUB, and another one way out in Germany. But I think I got the whole planet covered when we put out the reports. I put it out stating the time and now it was Eastern Daylight Time, but now I guess we're into fall, so it's Eastern Standard Time. But I'm getting a lot of supportive replies or thank yous from guys in this club and all over the state of Michigan and the United States, and a few DX. But if you have any idea or wonder what it's going to be, like today's report was, the sunspot number dropped to 164, but the solar flux index went up to 174. Anything above 150 is good for propagation. Granted, lately we've been having a lot of geomagnetic storms in that. Yesterday we had a G1 and a G2 class geomagnetic storm overnight. But what we're looking for is some X flares. We've had a number of M flares lately, mostly in the 8.2 range. We had one at a 9.7, I think, back in July, and that made for some excellent DXing for about 2 or 3 days. So have a look at it. If you have questions, email me the questions. I'll answer them as well as I can. I am not an expert, but the more I do it, the better I get. But I'm not an expert.
Don't feel too bad. None of us are. That's what we all call ourselves amateurs for. All right, cool, Chris. Yeah, we'll take a look on the Livonia Facebook page and we'll take a look at the reports.
Livonia ARC Facebook
Group. Okay.
different than the page.
Yep. All right. As always, keep an eye on the website for any upcoming club activities. And Mr. Secretary will close it down at 43 after 8 o'clock. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Certainly appreciate you joining us, and to everyone online as well.
We gotta make them.
Check in.
You're gonna need a